Well, hello and welcome. My name is Velma. You can connect with me at velmanolds.com. This is all about your leadership chat. What does that mean? You get to listen in on valuable insights from valuable leaders just like you. I want to encourage you to go ahead and subscribe so that you never miss another episode. And if this is of value to you, please share the nuggets that you're going to take away from all these great leaders. Hey, please give a big welcome to my special guest and your valuable leader, Michale Levitt. Hey, Michale, welcome to your leadership chat.
Velma, glad to be here. I've got my tea. I've switched to tea from coffee this morning, so we're good. Ready to go.
I've got my coffee, so we are good, right? I am living on purpose today. Live on purpose. So got the coffee and you got your tea. So hey, Michale, let's kick things off. I've been looking forward to your leadership chat. Tell the listeners a little bit about you and what you do.
Yeah, I run an organization called Breakfast Leadership. Launched it several years ago to help organizations and executives address burnout. Burnout is something that has been around for quite a long time, but lately it's getting a lot more coverage, which is good because if you start talking about things, then potentially you'll start doing something about it.
Mm.
And again, we're seeing it in every sector. Yes, there's a focus on healthcare and education
Sure.
and other areas, but over the last few years with the number of keynote addresses that I've been giving, I've spoke to pretty much every industry. So it's rampant, it's everywhere, and
Yeah.
it's heartbreaking because I know what it does because I have my own personal burnout journey that I had. And
Yeah.
for me, I don't want people to go through that. It is not fun. It's very damaging to not just yourself, but everyone around you.
Oh, wow. So burnout, that's huge. And, it's so true. Here we are now post the word pandemic, but in essence, people have done this reevaluation. And I mean, you're such an important topic. So thank you so much for what you do in that space. Anyway, on your leadership chat, it's all about really trying to understand how someone has made a tremendous impact in your life. I call that person the valuable leader. It's like Michale would say, Velma, without this person in my life, I would not be who I am today. And so I'd love for you to share who is a valuable leader in your life and why would you say that about that person?
I'd have to go back to, this is a couple decades ago. I had a boss named Rick. I work for an internet market research firm, and I was, I believe, employee number 32. We had a handful of offices, and I was in the Chicago office, and I was hired in the IT department. And my role was to do internal tech support, but also help build out a lot of servers that would gather internet market research information that which of course would be sold and shared to your big
Yeah.
Fortune 100 500 type of companies because they were looking for information, especially going back to 2000. There it was still in the kind of early days, but there was enough traction there where organizations really wanted to see what consumers were interested in, what they were looking at, what they were buying, so they could better gear the manufacturing and what they sold based on consumer demand. So this was a pretty crazy time because the dot-com era was booming at that point before it went bust. And during that time, it was just an absolute blast to work in there. But it was my first day there. And Rick came up to my cubicle at 3:32 p.m. Yes, I remember the specific time. So this is day one.
Right.
And he comes in and he leans on the cubicle wall and he said, "Okay, I just want to set some ground rules." And my first thought was, and the micromanager has shown up. And I'm thinking, okay, here we go. So I sat back and I'm like, no, just listen, hear what he has to say. And he said, "You've got your pager, right? You've got your cell phone, right? Right." It's like, okay. Uh, I don't care when you get here. I don't care when you leave. As long as you get your work done, we're good.
Right.
You've got my cell number. You've got my pager number. We were still using pagers then. And if you need anything, let me know.
Right.
Have a lot of fun while you work here. Again, just enjoy everybody here. And, if there's anything you need from me, let me know. And after he left, I went into the server room in our office,
Right.
and I was just kind of, looking around at the equipment because again, it was my first day, just kind of looking at there going, I'm gonna have a lot of fun at this job. And I did. I was there for over 3 years, which in that era was amazing because it was anybody that worked in recruiting during that
Right.
time frame in IT, and especially Chicago, and there were other markets too, but Chicago in particular. And
Right.
this happened to me as well earlier on before I took that role.
Yeah.
I had a recruiter place me into a role, and he's calling me 6 months later to say, I want to place you in another role that's going to pay you $15,000 more a year. Well, I was in my 20s. Yes, please, let's go. Because it was just an absolute zoo. They couldn't find people, similar to what we're dealing with right now,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of entities and organizations that can't find people.
Right.
And there's a whole myriad of reasons why that's going on. But it was an absolute zoo when it
Right.
came to that. And it was such a absolutely amazing time,
Mm.
and things were just booming and everything was going great. And then unfortunately 9/11 happened,
Mm.
and things shifted, things changed, and it wasn't as dynamic, and the calls stopped coming. People weren't looking, but I stayed there,
Right.
for a couple more years, which was great to have a great stable organization. But during my time there, I was getting bonuses. I was, getting acknowledgement from the CEO and the VP and every level in between of the stellar work that I was doing because they created the environment for
Mm.
me to thrive.
So
And
that's
I
what
saw,
Rick did. He created that
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
Yeah.
Rick Elert is his name, and I know we're connected on LinkedIn. I haven't talked with him in years, but and I don't know if he listens. If he comes across this, thank you, Rick, because again, what that did was it gave me the foundation as I became a leader in organizations and led teams and was
Mm.
responsible for all the things that I had capacity to be responsible for. I never forgot that lesson.
Mm.
It's like, and that lesson is create an environment for people to thrive in the workplace. Give them all the tools they need to
Right.
do their job to the best of their ability and get out of their way.
Yeah.
Let them do it. We see all these micromanagers. We see, and a lot of them really had a difficult time during the early days of the pandemic because they couldn't micromanage in person because nobody was at the office. They were
Yes.
all across 1,800 Zoom screens. And the people that micromanage really had a crisis because they didn't know how to manage. How do I
Mm.
manage people if I can't see them?
Yeah.
Well, all right, you have to stay on camera all day long. Yeah, come on. I mean, that just irritates, and I've had arguments with organizations about this.
Mm.
I'll talk to managers, not senior leadership, but the management, and they'll be in a meeting, and I'll say, okay, so what's the challenge, with your team? Well, I just don't trust them to do their job. And I look at them, I said, well, then you need to fire them right now.
It's a trust issue.
And
Yeah.
they're going, what? I can't fire them. I need them. They're great. Wait a minute. You don't trust them, but they're great. My dad had a saying, and I'm going to rated PG this. You're speaking out of both sides of your butt right now, buddy.
Mm.
It's you just know you have, if you don't trust those people, fire them, get rid of them.
Mm.
But it's the managers, the micromanagers, it's not that they don't trust their employees. They are afraid that they're going to get in trouble. So they have to overcompensate that. They're not confident in their own skills.
Right.
And partly not necessarily their fault because so many organizations, unfortunately, do not train people on how to be a manager.
Mm.
They hire somebody, say, okay, you're going to be my manager of my new division. So they bring them in, and those companies assume that that person got management training at the last company. Bad assumption.
Sure.
Companies usually don't train managers how to be managers. Like,
Right.
figure it out. And it's
So
spend,
for you, Michael, Rick was the guy that said, you know what, I'm going to trust you out of the gate until you prove me wrong to do the job that I hired you to do. And
mm,
I'm going to be here if you need me. And
yeah,
that helped set it up for you to say, he really helped me to believe in myself, to know that I could do the job. Because when you have someone that says, I'm hiring you to do it and they let you do it, they believe in you. I mean,
mhm,
that's what that message says about Rick.
Yeah.
as such a powerful, because you remember him, right? I mean, you didn't hesitate. You're like, the guy I know right away. Rick, I
Yeah.
went to work for this company.
20,
Three.
almost a quarter century ago, which is
Wow.
absolutely, because I was hired in April of 2020. So it's coming up next month. It'll be
Wow.
23 years, and that's
Still.
alarming.
Yeah.
I had hair back then. So, my goodness, it's literally it's mind-boggling on how
Sure.
long that has been. But
But it's a
it,
powerful impact, right? I mean, he's made such a tremendous impact. Wow.
yeah, yeah.
That speaks volumes. Okay, so let me flip the coin on the other side for us, and let me ask this other question. So, Michael, you know what it takes for someone to make such a tremendous impact. Look, I mean, we're celebrating almost 23 years plus of someone making a tremendous impact and being the valuable leader to you. So, how does Michael impact the lives of others today to help them see their own value and to, become a valuable leader, live a bigger life? How do you do that?
For me, when I was leading teams, it was, again, very similar where I would, here's all the tools you need. What do you need? My last healthcare role, went in, it was, originally it was an interim
Sure.
role, and I ended up staying on there for 4 years. That's a long interim. Uh, but, uh, but no, I was there for a few months, and then I thought, well, why not? I'll apply for it. And they liked me at the time. I liked them at the time. It was good. But they had a they had a history of a lot of turnover,
Okay.
and they were averaging around 86% turnover every year. 86, that's almost 9 out of 10 people were leaving. And this isn't a McDonald's, this is master's level and above
Yeah.
educated clinicians
Wow.
leaving because the environment was so toxic.
Wow. So were they getting burned out in your opinion, or
They
was it
were stressed, they were
so
burned out, there was no
that's unhealthy?
trust.
Yeah, no
Yeah, there
trust.
was none of that. And
Mhm.
I came in, and even when I was interim,
Yeah.
I sat down and met with every employee,
Yeah.
and I asked them, okay, what do you need to do your job? And I said, there's nothing off the table here. What do you need? Okay, I need more money. Well, at that time, it was working in Toronto, and the Ontario government funds the healthcare system currently. And that could change down the road, but we'll see. But anyway, at that particular time, there was
Sure.
a salary freeze in the sector, so there was no money to
Right.
give people. So I said, well, more money. And I said, well, as you're aware, the Ontario government has had a compensation freeze on this sector for a couple of years now. We anticipate that it'll probably end, hopefully, in the next year or two.
Yeah.
When it does, we will be making adjustments to the best of our ability based on what we get from our funding, but we're gonna advocate as hard as we possibly can to make sure that that happens for you. But in the meantime, we can create some other ways to give you some incentives. Let's start adjusting the vacation time a little bit. Let's add in a couple extra days off here. Your birthdays are now paid days off. Please don't work on your birthday. That's a pro tip for anybody. Don't work on your birthday, because if you have a bad day, guess what? You had a bad day on your birthday. That's not cool. So don't. I had that once in my career, and I said never again.
Right,
And
right.
and I just like, no, I'm taking this day off, and phones off, just gonna celebrate. But I met with all of them, and I said, what do you need? And they would say the things. And if there was something that I could do, whether it was,
Yeah.
what, I need a new chair, or my keyboard's not
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
best.
Just the
I'm
little
literally ordering things and having them show up. So within 2 weeks, all of a sudden, the temperature of that organization completely changed.
right.
And then people were asking my assistant, is Michael going to apply? Is he going to stay here? We want him to stay here. Because all of a sudden they were trusted, because I'm like, what do you need to do your job? I
Yeah.
don't want to do your job. And I joke this because it's, in a way, it's kind of ironic that I worked in healthcare, because the only reason why I passed biology class in ninth grade was Mr. Burrell did not want to see me again. So And there were trips to the principal's office, for reasons that I won't go into detail. But yeah, you're not supposed to take cadavers of things you're dissecting and chase girls around the room. I learned that.
That's for another
I know.
show.
Yeah, I learned that. Yeah, that's things Michael did that somehow
Yeah.
kept didn't get in jail for. But for me, it was ironic that I worked in that sector. But again, it was a thing where it's like I wanted to create an environment where people could thrive
Yeah.
in the world that they were working, give them opportunities,
That's huge.
even to the point where they were so trusting. The relationship was so trusting that they would come to me and say, "You know what? I love this place. I love this job, but an opportunity's come up for a big promotion for me at a downtown hospital." And I looked at them. I said, "What do you?" At first, I said, "Congratulations." And I said, "What do you need from me?" I said, "Who do I need to call?" And I would call that person. And I said, "You know what? This is going to be a big loss for me, but it's going
Right.
to be a humongous gain for you and a humongous gain for this sector." And even, and I did, using a Jack Welch term, dehire a few people, not a lot, but a few.
Right.
But
Right.
every one of those people, I told them, you need a reference call for me, you have it.
Yeah.
And there was one in particular where that person just was not the right fit for our organization. The work that they were doing really wasn't work that needed to be done. They were hired
Mhm.
by a predecessor. I'm not pointing fingers or anything like that.
Right.
They weren't the right fit. So they went and applied and acquired a pretty, as safe as you can get, government role,
Mm.
and pension, retirement,
Yeah.
great pay, easy hours. They're set. And I gave a glowing review for this person. Just because they weren't the right fit for us doesn't mean they wouldn't be a right fit somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you put that type of energy out there.
Sure.
It creates a happy, healthy environment. And again, the organization went from that huge turnover. So after a year I was there, it went from 86% to 6%.
Wow.
And it was even less than that afterwards because I had the right team. I created an environment. They were able to do things. We were getting additional funding. They were
Mm.
able to bring in additional physicians
Yeah.
and grow the organization because we had turned it around. And
Wow.
it was turning around. Everybody's like, "Well, how hard is it to turn around an organization?" Well, if you got the right pieces in place, it's not hard. And they had a lot of right pieces, and I had some amazing hires as well because I knew the environment. I knew the environment that I wanted to have, and I knew the environment that could exist there.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of leaders make this mistake where like, this is the environment I'm going to have, but they don't understand their people to say, is that environment actually going to be beneficial for those people to thrive, or is it going to have to be a little bit more agile than that? And leaders, constantly need to learn themselves, and sometimes they get really just out, it's got to be this way. And when you're that direct, and sometimes that can turn around and bite you, and you just have to be a little bit more flexible on those things and let your people thrive and shine and have input. And
Right.
when you do that, that's when you start seeing some absolutely magical stuff happen.
Cool. Yeah. And it's come full circle on why you're so passionate about burnout. Because one, you went in initially into an environment where you really had this leader that just trusted you to do the job and was there for you. Didn't say, "Hey, see you later." It was like, "I'm here for you, but I'm going to let you do your job. You come to me. You just come to me. If you need me, I'm going to make sure you have the tools." And then you went into an organization and you said, "I see the unhealthy environment that's here. How do you just get one on one with people, and then just find out what is it that they need?" And if you can't meet their need, like you said, there was a salary freeze. There was no way compensation could move in that fashion. You get creative and say, "What could we do to at least address in some way or another?" And you know what? People appreciate that. They just want to be heard. They want to be seen, and they want to know that what they say matters to you, and you're going to do the best job you can. And that showed your value as a leader, hands down.
Well,
Um,
thank you.
yeah. So take us to this one. Now, you never know when anyone is going to listen to this recording. We never know where they're going to be in their season of life, whether they're in a burnout environment, in a toxic workplace, in a healthy workplace, or in a leadership role where they have to figure out, how do I lead now from a position of adding value? So, what would be one big takeaway that Michael would say, Velma, if I could share one thing with all the listeners, here's what I would tell them about becoming a valuable leader? What would that be?
I think get really crystal clear on how you spend your time.
Mm,
And you hear the word time management. Well, time is one of those commodities that once you spend it, it's gone. You never get it back. It's
right.
gone. You can lose everything. You can lose your house, your home, all that stuff, and you can get back. And we see it time and time again where people
Right.
lose everything and then they get back on their feet and things are fine. Time isn't that way. So you have to understand how you're spending your time. If it
Mm,
doesn't matter if you're a leader or frontline or everywhere in between, everyone's a leader of their life. So
yeah.
understand how you spend your time and track it. It's easy for me. My first career was public accounting, billable hours. I had to track every 15 minutes. I actually worked for a CPA firm that was actually every 12 minutes. And I'm like,
Oh,
okay, so well, basically it was 5 increments in an hour instead of four, and they did the math. Well, they're accountants and figured out that they would make more revenue by doing it that way. It was amazing. So because it gets to a certain minute, they get to bill for 12, but I'm sure they're still doing that, or they may have even shrunk it down to six by this point. I don't know. They're still around, which I find. I haven't worked for there for even longer than 2000. That was way way back. But having said that, understand where your energy levels are as well. And that takes a little bit more work, but
right.
often, we're using our whole brain
Hmm.
all day usually,
Right.
but there are certain tasks that are left brain. There are certain tasks and things you do that are right brained.
Yeah.
If you have any say in how you do things, batch those tasks together that are left brain activities and those that are right brained. And
Mm,
if you can even do it for days, meaning, okay, on Mondays, I'm going to do this, Tuesdays, I'm doing this, Wednesdays, I'm doing this, Thursdays, I'm doing this, Fridays, doing this,
right.
that cuts out a lot of the uncertainty. Doesn't mean you're not going to be interrupted. We all get interrupted.
Sure.
But if you've got some structure to how you do things,
Hmm.
then how you do things gets better. You
Ah,
get more efficient. You
right.
you
Right.
you have more clarity. And when you have clarity,
Yeah.
then you're able to see some things. And I'll throw in a bonus one that kind of ties into it. Make sure you get good sleep, please. If you're not sleeping well, then you're not repairing the damage that you did to yourself today, which means today's damage gets piled on to tomorrow, then the next day, and the next day, and the next day. So make sure that you spend as much as you can on the best mattress, the best bedding, pillow, sheets,
Yeah.
every room temperature. If keep the technology out of your bedroom, go on Amazon and buy an alarm clock. They still sell them. I know it's convenient to have these devices that do everything, but
Right.
when your eyes see, even if you're wearing those, blue blocking or blue light blocking glasses, it's still tricking your brain thinking, oh, wait a minute, time to stay up. So that's why if you're on your phone or technology, it takes you a while to wind down because your brain's going, it's not
Yeah.
bedtime yet. Your
Right.
body's going, it was bedtime 2 hours ago, buddy. Why are you still up? But get the technology out, have some boundaries around how you spend your time,
Mm,
and you'll find that you're getting more done in less time because you're not switching gears often.
yeah.
It's like, I'll give this analogy. Okay, you need to go to the grocery store and you're a caregiver, so you have to go to another pharmacy that carries the medication for your mom. You also have to go get gas. Okay. So you got three stops, and unfortunately, those are three different things. Well, if you're switching things around all the time and shifting gears and working on different things that are using different parts of your brain all the time, it's
Mhm.
equivalent of starting to go grocery shopping, having to stop, leave your cart in the middle aisle, go to the pharmacy, pick up the medication because you got to ask the pharmacist because it's a different dose and all that, and the pharmacist is leaving it too. Then you got to go back to the gas station or go back to the grocery store, excuse me, but then all of a sudden the little gas light comes on in there, so you got to swing over and get gas. Then you got to go back to the grocery store and finish your shopping. So you've been, and how does that make you feel? Even me explaining that to you, you're
Makes my
probably
head
like,
spin.
yeah, that's what people do all day long. They're
Yeah.
like, And it's no wonder we're stressed because that's stressful. Just talking about it, I can feel my heart rate
I'm
going up
like,
a little bit
yeah,
thinking about
I'm like, I need more coffee. Right,
exactly, or you need to switch to decaf, one of the two. But
right.
so
Wow.
have some structure around how you spend your
Wow.
time. Work with your manager, work with your owners, your boss. If you're the boss, do it yourself and walk the walk because people will recognize it. And what you'll find is you'll accomplish a lot more in less time and your quality of work will improve, which then eases the stress and the burden. And then it gives you some opportunities to be creative and do great things. So
Oh, wow.
figure out how you spend your time and try to structure it the best you can so it flows a little bit more because then a life in flow tends to be a lot less stressful, and without prolonged stress you won't burn out.
Yeah, no, wow, what a great message about, the importance of investing your time in a way that you're getting the best return physically, emotionally, mentally, and even, psychologically, even in your business and life. I love it. That's awesome. So, Michael, let's pull this to a close. I know I could talk to you, and I wanted to ask, how can listeners learn more about you or follow you, find more about what you do? What's the best way to do that?
A few places. One, I have my own show, which you've been on, and your episode will be going live soon. It's the Breakfast Leadership Show. It's on all of the major platforms. Breakfastleadership.com
Yes.
is a website where you can pretty much find everything. Breakfastleadership.com is probably the single place you could go to find what you're looking for. And feel free to send me a message. There's a contact info option on the website. Just send me a note, and I'll be more than happy to have a chat.
Yeah, yeah. Breakfastleadership.com. I love it. And it's all leaders got to eat. So you can go to breakfastleadership.com and really learn more about what Michael does. Michael, I can't thank you enough for being on Your Leadership Chat today. Hey, thanks so much for watching another episode of Your Leadership Chat. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button here and tap that bell icon so that you never miss another episode. I hope too that you'll give us a thumbs up on the video for a like. And then if you feel led, please share the video with those who need to see it. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time on Your Leadership Chat. Bye for now.